The Philadelphia Eagles just had a very unfortunate loss to the Atlanta Falcons, and in today's live stream, actually, for the first time ever, I'll be having my post-game show. Just share my thoughts, share my feelings, and my disappointment. I don't know what happened. This was an all-around failure by the coaches, by the offense, and by the defense. Going into this week, a lot of people thought that this would be an easy blowout victory for the Eagles. I didn't necessarily think it was going to be a blowout, but the team was so much better that I just didn't see how we would lose. And I definitely wish we had those 3 points from the field goal. Now, at the time, watching the game in the first or second quarter, whenever it was, I definitely did want to kick the field goal. I'm not always a kick the field goal type of guy, but when you're playing the Falcons, who could barely score 22 points, I thought the field goal would have been enough at that point. And I would have kicked it because you could think, hey, the Falcons aren't going to score that many points. Let's just get points when we can. But that's not what the coaches decided to do. And it clearly cost us. I think my hopes of the Super Bowl team may be dying down a little bit. My expectations after week 1 were sky high, and now I would say there may be more of a average expectations, because I don't know. Now, I will say, Juan, son of Smith, I believe you have commented to yourself saying, I bet you wished you had those 3 points now, and then excellent point, Juan. So that's great. But yeah, I agree. I guess essentially what happened in this game, I think we all know. The Eagles could have easily put them away for most of the game. And their offense, while it looked okay, it just didn't actually put up any points. Jalen Hurts, 23 for 30. That sounds decent, but only 183 yards. So that's about 6 yards per attempt. That's not a lot. He was pretty conservative. We could run the ball whenever we wanted to with Saquon Barkley, but we just didn't. He should have had... Why didn't he have 30 carries maybe? The 1 or 2 drives where we ran the ball with Saquon Barkley, it worked. When we didn't run with Saquon Barkley, it didn't work. So Devontae Smith was fine, but he didn't really have an excellent game like I thought he might. Dallas Goedert was okay, but he didn't excel like I thought he did. Jahan Dotson, that looks like a waste of a 3rd or 4th round pick, because even without A.J. Brown, he still only has 1 target for 6 yards, and he got a blocking penalty or a holding penalty that I think took back a touchdown, or at least took back a first down. That seems like a waste. We should have just kept Britton Covey in our picks. So the offense was terrible. I mean, putting up 21 points against a Falcons team who's okay. We only put up 3 more points than the Pittsburgh Steelers put up. That should say enough. I guess we did score touchdowns, but it doesn't matter. We lost. It was kind of embarrassing. So offense just was blah. Like, they did not do anything. How many times did we punt? We only punted twice, but we went for it on downs a few times. It didn't work out. The defense, I was getting ready to say the defense was fine. They didn't look great. They didn't, stonewall them. They'd given up 15 points through almost 4 quarters, and I thought that was fine. Not great, but fine. And then the offense, yes, they don't milk the clock all the way down to 0, but they do give Atlanta the ball with about a minute and a half with no timeouts, and Atlanta needs a touchdown to win. Why can't the defense? Why can't the defense stop them? It's not that good of an offense. They let them up in like 4 plays. And for the Steeler bashing, I won't bash their defense, but until they score 2 offensive touchdowns, I will still bash their offense. So, keeping that on record. But the defensive line got no pressure. I heard the announcers talk about it all the time. It seemed like one of the only things they talked about for the second half of the game. But the Steelers showed how easy it is to rush the passer on the Falcons, and then the Eagles just don't know how to do it. I don't know if this is because we don't have TJ Watt, which we don't, but I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 sacks in the game, which feels reasonable, maybe a little bit more pressure, but they just didn't do anything. But again, I was fine with the defense until they let up a touchdown in 30 seconds. And the coaching, again, I didn't like the starting it off early in the game, kicking or going forward instead of kicking the field goal. I thought that was kind of dumb. I was okay with throwing it to Saquon at the end of the game, but that part didn't bother me because I thought you were going for the win at the end of the game. That made sense. You trust your offense, and Saquon should have caught it. But not kicking the field goal clearly cost you this game at this point. So, I don't know what to think with my season-long outlook for this team at this point. The defensive line is clearly not what I had hoped it would be. I had hoped that it wouldn't be as good as 2 years ago, but it would be decent. And it just looks bad. Bijan Robinson was able to run all the way up and down the field. And I know he's good, but still. And no pressure. And no, I don't think the coach should be fired. The coach has not been impressive. Don't get me wrong. Sirianni, when he was running down the field next to C.J. Gardner-Johnson, screaming about a 4th down stop, I thought that was kind of embarrassing. I didn't think that the coach should be doing that. That didn't look very professional. And I'm okay if he has some emotion, but I don't know, stay classy, act like you've won a game before. But he has gone to the playoffs every year he's coached, 3 straight years. I know the roster's loaded, so of course, but it is a bit of a prove it year, but I don't want him to be fired at 1-1. I do think he should get a strong scolding from the Philly media and the Philly fans. And I did hear the boos at the stadium. I was pretty happy with that. It felt like a proper amount of boos for Eagles' disastrous loss. But it's just so disappointing because the Eagles were in prime position, just 1 minute left in the game, to take a lead ahead of the Cowboys, who fell apart and lost to the Saints. Take a lead ahead of the 49ers, who somehow lost to the Vikings. And ahead of the Lions, who lost to the Buccaneers. We could have been the best team in the NFC, have the front seat to the 1 seed, and we just fumbled it away. I don't know. When there was about 2 minutes left in the game, I was thinking, this is a classic Eagles game. We wait, we keep it stressful until the very end of the game, and then we win, and it's just great TV. But then we lost, so I guess it's still okay TV, but I no longer feel okay about it. There's that. There will always be Cowboy bashing on this channel, and 49er bashing. Lion bashing, maybe not. But the first two, there will always be bashing for those teams. Those are the 2 worst teams in the NFL. Or maybe not the worst. There's the Panthers, My two least favorites for sure, though. 49ers are worse than even the Giants and the Cowboys. I mean, how can you not hate the Cowboys? But I guess back to the defensive line, it's a bit all over the place. But where's Bryce Huff? I'm looking at the stat sheet, and he didn't get a tackle, and the Eagles just paid him $17 million a year to come here from the Jets, and he can't even get a tackle. Week 1, it was excused because of the turf. There's no excuse in week 2. If you're getting paid that much money, I know it's not like top tier edge rusher money, but that's enough money that you should get a tackle in the game when you're playing a bad to mediocre offensive line. There's 59 tackles this game, and he can't even get one. He's being outplayed, way outplayed, by, everybody. By everybody on the team. So, that's pretty concerning. I wasn't concerned after week 1. I am concerned now. If Thomas Booker, who, unless you're a hardcore Eagles fan, you don't know who he is, if he's outperforming you, you're in trouble. But there was no one on the defensive line that played great. Only some people who played okay, I guess. I don't even know. It's one of the most disastrous Eagles losses I've seen in a few years. Well, okay, that might be overreacting because last year we had about 6 disastrous losses in a row. So maybe we're just still there. And I guess for the Eagles offensive line, I thought it was fine. You only give up 1 sack. It felt like Jalen Hurts had all day, most of the game. They could run the ball whenever they wanted to. They were able to do a tush push like 3 or 4 times with Jason Kelsey commentating over it, so that was probably the best part of the game. So actually, no. Eagles offensive line, I would say, played well. They had a few penalties, mainly the illegal men downfield, but that's not really on them. That's more on Jalen Hurts throwing the ball too late. I would say, yeah, the Eagles offensive line, best part of the team this week. And Saquon Barkley, I would say he was up there too, but it's just such a disastrous drop that cost you the game. So he had 22 carries for 95 yards, 5 targets, 4 receptions, 21 yards. If he had just caught that one more, we would have won the game, and it would be great. That kind of leaves me with the question, are the Falcons good or not? Are the Eagles good or not? I just don't know. And then looking forward. So we just have to deal with this disastrous loss for the Eagles. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know how to deal with it. But we just have to. And then next week, we play the Saints at the Saints. I have no clue if the Saints are any good or not. The Saints, I thought were terrible. Going into the year, Saints would be like a bottom 10 team. But they blew out the Panthers. And I go, I don't care. They blew out the Panthers. Who cares? And then they blew out the Cowboys, and now I kind of care. Because the Cowboys, I think, are a good team. If you blow them out, then you're probably a good team. So then, what will the Eagles do against them? Kamara is just as good as Bijan, or at least roughly as good, so he can run all over the Eagles' offense. And they've gotten big plays each game, and the Eagles seem to just give up big plays, which is very frustrating since the defense is supposed to be specialized against big plays, but they just keep on giving up big plays. So, why is that happening? I don't know if it's a coaching error or a player error. I know our defensive backs are young for the most part, but still. I mean, Slay gave up the touchdown, He's not young, and that was a terrible play. But he totally got burnt on the touchdown. So I don't know. I thought this was going to go differently. I don't know. The Eagles season, it could turn into a rough season if they don't figure things out. Should the Eagles tank to improve their draft pick? No. I'm going to go with a no on that one, because if they tank, Sirianni is getting fired, and then all the coaches are getting fired, and you don't want to be a team that just fires coaches all the time, even though if they don't win a playoff game, I bet Sirianni goes away. I bet he gets fired. If they go 10-7, lose in the first round of the playoffs, especially if it's a bad loss in the first round of the playoffs, they're going to get rid of him at that point. Getting rid of him at this point in the season does not quite make sense, but he has to know if he doesn't meet expectations, he's going to go away. It's as simple as that. So, I guess to recap, key takeaways. The offense, while it looked okay at times, just stalled out too frequently. There weren't any big plays from the offense, and they simply didn't put enough enough points. Only 21 points. Not enough. Should have kicked a field goal. For sure. 100%. Early in the game, when you play the Falcons, just kick a field goal instead of going for it on 4th and 3. The defense had no pressure the entire game. The defensive line is concerning at this point, but I thought it was okay. They had only given up 15 points through almost 4 whole quarters, and then with 1 minute to go, they let Kirk Cousins, who we didn't think was that good of a quarterback, and mediocre weapons, go 70 yards down the field and score an easy touchdown. And they did it with 30 seconds to spare. So it wasn't even a close call. So, I don't know. You can't rely on that red zone defense to destroy them or to lock them out of the end zone forever. Eventually they're going to score a touchdown. And the money in this team is on the offense, so the offense just has to do better. I don't know how much credit I give the Eagles defense for keeping Bijan under 100 rushing yards. I don't think I give them any credit for keeping Bijan under 100 rushing yards. He only ran the ball 14 times. So, quick math. 97 divided by 14. He had 6.93 yards per carry. I'm not giving them any credit for that. Zero credit. He had 4 receptions for 25 yards, so he did have over 100 yards. He just didn't have over 100 rushing yards. So, no. They do not get my stamp of approval for that, unfortunately. Maybe next week they can get some stamps of approval. But not in this one. Not in this one. And if you would like some more impressive math skills for the rush rate, it was 6.9285714285714223. Just kind of did that from the top of my head. But I guess stopping them from reaching that 7 per carry marker is a little impressive. I guess on the upside, we stopped Kyle Pitts, if that counts for anything. So Kyle Pitts only got 20 yards. But then Darnell Mooney had almost 100 yards and a touchdown. So, overall, bad game, bad loss. Bad offense, bad defense, bad coaching, and I guess we'll see what happens next week. And I guess no, I will not be turning into a Steelers channel. I would like to root for a team that has a potential to score 2 touchdowns in one game. It might not always happen, but I would like to believe that there's the potential that it could happen. And with the Steelers, I just don't think it will happen. But instead of becoming a Steelers reaction or a channel, I can just become a more and more disappointed Eagles fan reaction. Even though at some point, I'll probably lose my hope. And then it will just be a defeated Eagles channel reaction. So I thought maybe I would break out the Eagle hat, but not for a loss. The Eagle hat has to be reserved for a win. Or if I reach 1,000 concurrent listeners. But as I'm currently at 6, I do not think this will happen. But yes, the Eagle hat may make it if we get a win. There's 0% chance it will make it with a loss and 6 viewers. No chance. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have much else to say about this Eagles disastrous game. Worst game of the season for sure. And, well, no, not worst game of the season. Worst game of the season so far. It can always get worse. But who knows? Okay. Well, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you later. Unless the comments... Well, that was a fake ending. Because there were comments. Yes, I'm sticking with worst game so far. Not worst game ever. Worst game so far. But anyways, I will now fade into the background. Like this. 1, 2, 3. Oh, 3. And now I'm kind of like a ghost who can only talk. Wow. And now I'm back. But not really. Goodbye.